Good morning, good evening, good afternoon, guys. Welcome to The Verses Live, where we talk all things poetry. This is, again, The Verses. Our goal is professional poetry development with a focus on underrepresented voices in poetry. And today we're going to be talking about the topic of blogs and how can you actually start a successful poetry blog in 2023. And these are going to be strategies that we're going to actually try to employ and kind of keeping tabs on every now and then to see how we do. I'm actually going to run like just some numbers and things by you so you can have an idea what our starting point is. And by the way, if you see me and I'm off center, that is because, for those of you watching the video, we're waiting on our co-host. He has some things happen at work. He's on his way. So at one point, we will have to just break momentarily while we get him settled. But in the meantime, we're going to take a look at some numbers and things like that today. And then we're also going to be taking a look at some strategies that we're going to be trying to employ to see how successful they are. And if you have your own tips or strategies for writing a blog or other forms of media that you found to be successful for you, be sure to let us know what those are. Before we get into those actual numbers, though, just want to highlight a couple of things that are happening. First things first, we are running our first residency program. This is from, again, December 8th. That's a Friday through to Sunday, which is December 10th. You can sign up for this over at theversespoetry.com/residency. Specifically, we're looking at for 2 female poets, and they'll be staying in one space. And they're also each going to have a 20-minute featured reading on the evening of the 9th that will be recorded and things like that. So that sounds like something you're interested in. You're trying to get a residency space for your writing. You want to work on a project. That is something you would definitely want to be considering. And then also some things that are happening too. We have a Facebook group called Pep and Poets. We meet on first Sundays from 2 to 3 p.m. In Columbus, Ohio. So if you're in the area, we encourage you, let us know. Maybe you could stop by. Now, space is limited. We limit it to basically 6 other participants in addition to myself. So you need to pre-register, sign up for the group, and we'll show you all the steps to do that. We talk all things poetry. We talk craft. We talk business. We talk goals and things. And we would love for you to be a part of that. The very last thing I just want to remind you of is that what we do every single Wednesday, we have basically it's a private webinar. It's free, and we're basically trying to help you create a course or a workshop or a video course around your writing. So if you want to start getting some ideas for strategizing your writing, you want to actually start turning your writing into a business, you want it to start sustaining you not only kind of personally for your writing goals, but also maybe financially a little bit. We talk about some strategies and considerations for that. If that sounds like something you are down for, what you can do is go to this link to pre-register. Spaces are very limited, limited to about 4 participants each time. That sounds like something you're interested in. You can go to this link. I've just put it in the chat, and we would love to see you there. All right, all of that out of the way. So our goal is really going to be talking about how exactly can you how exactly can you I totally put it in the wrong spot. That's why it's not doing what I want it to do. How can you start your own blog and become successful in the age of like social media and also media platforms? There's so many ways digitally that you can make your work for you if you know how to do it and if you approach it with the right sort of strategy and things like that. So what we want to do, and you do have to pardon me because I put things in the wrong spot, which is always very frustrating. Okay, but basically what I want to do is to let you know, first of all, we have a blog. We've actually already started one. And we recently made some posts. So we have a blog over on our website, theversespoetry.com/podcasts with an S at the end. But we also made one over on Medium. And so as soon as I'm able to load this, we're going to just kind of look at what the numbers and things tell us about what's going on. Because the honest answer is Not much. And to be fair, that's kind of to be expected because it isn't something that we necessarily have been promoting. And if you're trying to really push these sorts of projects, then ideally you really need to be kind of putting in the work for this. Like there's just no way around it. You have to be willing to put in some work, let people know about what you're doing in your projects, and that's just not something that we've done. We'll take a look at what those numbers actually look like. Everything's loading momentarily. I can tell you that right now we have. We can look together. Okay, let's take a look and see what we got. So again, we're all about how can you start a Medium blog for poets. What is it going to look like? So this is what our stats are right now. I don't know if you can see it, but right now our stats are 6 views. We got 6 views. It's less than a month. Okay. You can see most of them came during the same period. We've posted more since then. So right now we probably have, I don't know, maybe like 10 posts that are up. And obviously they're just not doing anything for us right now. And one of the things that we found, you can look at the video description. One of the things we found, there's an article that's on like the Medium's official blog, and they're kind of just giving tips, for starting a blog related to poetry on Medium. And so we're just going to kind of highlight some of the key features from that article and then talk about maybe ways to even build off on top of that further to see how far we go. So these are going to be strategies that we're going to actually start employing tomorrow, maybe even tonight, depending on what time we get out. And we will keep you posted next week on how things are looking, if there's any difference or not. Okay, so those are the current numbers. This is the post that we actually were looking at. So there's this post called The Complete Guide to Poetry on Medium. This is by Thomas Gaudex. I do have to apologize for that. I'm not sure how that's pronounced. My apologies. But there is, again, this post, The Complete Guide to Poetry on Medium. Let's take a look at what this is a suggestion that they have is, and we may revisit this once our co-host arrives. I'm Matthias. So the first thing you're going to see is they give a list of poets. Now, how did they choose these poets? I have no idea. No real clue about how to identify the poets that they want to look at. But this can still work to our advantage. For those of you who follow us over on Threads, one of the things I had done, what was it, probably about a week ago, was I posted a challenge to people and I said, hey, reach out to a poet whose work you found and you like. I wouldn't necessarily pick someone who's like, like a big name poet, but someone who you feel like you might, if you reached out to them, they may be able to give you a response. But you can try it, the big names too. You never know. And just let them know what you found of theirs. So in my case, I found a poem from a Droit journal. And then after that, just kind of tell them a quick reflection on the piece and things like that. We're going to talk more about this in a moment because there's all kinds of little strategy that you can do and see if it works for you. Let me go grab our co-host and we will be right back.
Facts are important, but emotional truth that poets get at is the most exciting and maybe the most truthful.
When I read it in this space, when I bring it to this audience, why do I want to do that today, here, now? Something I think I'm doing a lot in my work is giving a certain amount to be able to see where this boat is going and where the waters are taking it, but not trying to paint the full landscape. Not only because I don't want to share it, but because I don't know if even I want to go there yet myself. So I'm wondering how you handle that, and if it's scary at any points for you, or how you deal with that scariness.
Yeah. Well, first, so do you feel that way about Cruel? God,
yeah. I mean, a very common reflection I get from my work is, people are like, I don't know exactly what's going on, but I feel a lot of things. And that's kind of a lot of just my passion in art. I don't always want to know exactly what's going on, but when I apply it personally, and I'm willing to approach what I'm willing to approach in the manner of which, or the manner and depth in which I'm willing to go into it, and we talked about this too, it's a long game of poetry, right? Things I'm tapping into now with Cruel, I surely will keep writing about, and surely I hope that not that I'll reveal more, but that I'll discover more. Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, I feel like I recognize. I asked because I feel like I recognize that in the book, but there was an intentionality behind it. I'm thinking of a specific moment that I marked. This stood out to me when I was reading. You said, "I offer a puzzle that will madden you, but your ego feeds differently." I liked that itself as an offering of the text as a puzzle and as an offering, because I think even if there is distance that you're feeling and some fears about sort of, is this text going far enough? I don't know. I think there's something useful in that navigation, and then you being honest about that navigation on the page. Right? I think poetry is exciting because it's poets thinking about how do we approximate different truths on the page, and I think poetry can.
All right, we're back.
We are back. Look at us.
All right, we did a thing,
and we grew a whole other human that wasn't here before. So look at me.
Give me a sec. I'm gonna up the volume just a little bit. Can you say something for me again?
Something for me again.
Yeah. Again.
Something for me again. That was cinematic. That's so that y'all at home can get the full surround sound.
The full
version
surround
of that mic check.
I'm just gonna turn down mine. And you guys, if you're hearing this, you can let us know. Can you say one more thing?
One more thing. Really big shoe. Real big.
That's our okay. I think this is okay. We'll check the levels after. That'd be crazy. I think they're all right. Anyways, thank you guys for your patience. I'm joined by my co-host.
Yeah, it's Matt or Matthias. I do it. It's Matthias. Hi, everybody.
I'm gonna adjust the one camera. So Matthias, I'm gonna talk to you. Actually, I'm not. Let me just adjust the camera really quick.
I'm not gonna talk to you at all.
Do some nice
for the rest of our
for
lives.
a sec, right?
The last words that you heard from me are the last words I'm going to be speaking to you. Oh, I can see myself.
Okay. Hopefully that.
Look at me looking at you, looking at me.
Yeah. Okay. So once more, we're going to be talking about starting our own blog on Medium and the strategies we're going to try to employ to make this successful. So Matthias is looking at our stats. So Matthias, those are our stats right now. What do you see?
6 views in 30 days.
6 views, yeah, a little bit less than 30 days, so it's not quite that old, but yeah. How's that sound to you? Does that sound good or not good?
I mean,
you can be honest.
It depends on what that means. Because what this goes from the 17th of September.
Yeah.
So when it says like 30 days, like that's the lowest that it can calculate. It just says 30 days, but it really means lower.
Yeah.
It just kind of I would. It depends on where you're at in the journey.
Okay, so we can let's clarify where we are at.
Where I'm at. What?
Okay, so we are at. So these are all the posts I have, as you can see, and so we started off getting some hits. And basically, you might wonder, where are these posts even? These posts are basically transcripts I've taken from video podcasts we've done. So basically like this stream. And I take the transcript, cut off pieces that I think are interesting for people. So short sections, and then post them here. And so started off getting some views, and then the last 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 or 6 or so have not gotten anything. Oh my gosh, this is sad news. This is horrible. Nice. So what we're going to be doing now, I do before I even preface that, I need to be honest. I haven't really been pushing the blog at all.
That's fair. That's to be honest, I haven't really been pushing is actually the third most common saying amongst people in delivery rooms
or street corners.
Together at last. The synergy. I never knew. We can really finally bring these two cultures together.
So so I haven't been in terms of promotion and things like that, just hasn't been going. Bella's here. Bella's the best. Bella and I
Hi, Bella.
Don't get jealous, but Bella and I spent an hour together last night. Just
An
writing
hour?
poems.
Just
Just
writing
lo-fi
poems.
It was great.
That's nice.
She wrote a poem about a zombie, like a zombie. Oh, what was it?
Well, they can't write poems about themselves, so it's like
what was the title of the poem again? Because I was like, that's what's up. Bella, if you can also let us know if our audio levels are crazy, like if my mic is way hotter than his, let us know. But so the blog journey obviously has not. We started it, cool. So we got posts out there. How to cook a zombie. That's what Bella's poem was about. How to cook a zombie.
ironically enough, because zombies don't eat cooked food.
That's true. They like raw.
Yeah,
That's
it's
true.
very, very specific palate.
Cool.
Got in mind for
The
that.
audio's good, balanced. That's what's up. Yeah, and I think I told you that for sound designers, when they want zombies to get the sound of zombies eating flesh, they basically just hold a microphone up to themselves eating watermelon.
That's just their excuse to bring food into the studio. I really want to bring this watermelon in. Come
That's
on,
your
Dan.
fun fact.
Leave the watermelon out of
That's
here,
your-
man.
That's your fun fact.
No, I
Eat
need the
some
watermelon. I need it so
I
much.
sound like a zombie.
Dude, I've been working on some sound design stuff. I feel like
It's so fun.
it's fun, but oh my gosh, like
It's horrible at the same time. Don't get me wrong.
it's so like
It's
I feel
so
like
bad.
I understand why like if typically that's somebody else's entire job. The entire thing that they're doing is they're not working on editing. They're not working on they're this. I am the guy that you bring in to specialize
Mhm.
and look
That's all
at
it
what these characters are doing and make the sounds associated with the thing. Because oh my gosh. To do a 5-second kind of window where you're like, okay, like there's a lot of specific
Mhm.
like 3 or 4 punches maybe in that 5
Mhm.
seconds, or like a throw, or like keys being like all those things take so
Mhm.
much in the sound design department. But
Like even if like you're throwing keys, a lot of times you can't just even just use like you'll have to, that might be layered with like 4 different sounds, for all the things. Like it's just I don't.
Well, because you like typically like, you would throw key, but like you'd have to like have something like underneath it that it's going to like catch the sound, as opposed to like it just like being like a hard sound on something.
So, like,
if it's because it's
on the
typically
table,
not like
or is it on a couch, or is it on the floor, like it's on tile. How many is it? 2 keys? Is it 5? Like it's just like so.
It's a lot.
We were watching Howl's Moving Castle, and that's all. I just like every 5 minutes, I was just telling Cassie like the sound is so good. Oh my god. Anyways, you guys aren't here for sound design. You guys are here for learning why our blog strategy is not working and how we're going to fix it.
Although if you want us to circle back to it, just let us know.
So once more, in case you're just joining us again, so I'm going to just kind of restart from the cap. So Medium. Reason Medium for our blog. Well, you can also find our blog too at theversuspoetry.com/podcasts with an S at the end. So there is an article. It's this one, not in order. Okay, so Complete Guide to Poetry on Medium, again from Thomas Gatto, which I found. I saw it on a Threads post. I forget who sent it, but I appreciated them for doing that. And so the very first thing that this blog post mentions is they basically just give a list of big name poets to look at on the platform. I have not looked up these poets just yet, but I'll leave this on the screen in case you want to take a minute, write down some names, find some people and things like that in case you want to try this blog strategy with me. Okay. Well, Bella mentions that doing some talent design with kids. That's what's up. See, that's what you'd have to teach that to kids like early on. Like I feel like if you teach that to kids, that'd be a lot of fun. And then in your like 30s and 40s, it's torture. But if you catch them young,
because time is that it's the timing of something. So it's like again, you're working on if it's like a 3-minute scene, you're working on that for the week. Like your week is
100%.
Your week is taking that thing increment.
I mean, even just basic editing, you're looking at about an hour for a minute for like basic level stuff.
Yeah.
And that's just like, and that's like the video stuff. Not even mentioning like the audio. It's like, oh my gosh. If you're interested in audio design, my first tip for you right now would be just start building your catalog of sounds. Just anytime you hear a good sound, just like save it. Because you never know.
In your brain,
You
just
never know, like on your computer.
no, I know. It sounds like that's the sound of my TV in the 90s.
You never know when you're gonna need it. You just never know what you're gonna need it. Okay. So Matthias, let's get some practical tips from you. So you have this list of poets who are bigger names than you on the platform. What would you do with this?
What would I do when it comes to the list of poets?
Let's do a hypothetical. Imagine you have a blog.
Okay.
And you in the platform you're using,
right?
You found out that these are some fairly larger names, maybe not like completely inaccessible, but these are larger names than you on the platform.
Right.
How would you approach this?
I mean, I might find ways to have content that incorporated them or incorporated their work. And in that way, searches on the platform would also pull up, my work and my blog.
Okay. Would you let them know or would you not let them know?
I would let them know. I mean, why not?
Okay, so walk me through your contact with them. Like, walk me through the entire process. So you find them. It's like you have this list.
Oh, I mean, well, let's say like you take something like exactly what we're talking about right now. And so like what we're talking on right now, maybe we're talking about poems or we're talking about a specific poet. Maybe we're breaking down poems, and then I would just do what we would do naturally, which is just talk about the poet or talk about the poem. And then I would still reach out to them maybe on Instagram and just say, hey, we talked about your poem on, our podcast or something like that. I'm a big fan or whatever the situation is. And then just like, let them know.
I like that. So you're pulling in, we talked about this before. There's, what was his name? I forget his first name. The last name Dunbar. There's this concept again called Dunbar's numbers. The more times you reach out and like just get in touch with the person, like the more touch points you have, the greater your connection with them. So I like that you're reaching out with them, not just on the platform. It's like you find them on Medium, right? Or whatever your platform is, but then you reach out to them on another platform.
Yeah.
So now for you have 2 points of contact, but maybe for them, you only have one. So I would even maybe take it a step further. So maybe I would also, on like the blog platform, I might leave a comment on something they've written. I might send them a message on Instagram, and then I maybe even try to find maybe one other platform and just kind of see what they got going on there, and maybe also interact with them in one other place.
Yeah, I mean, especially when we're talking about publications, and so if they had something published, I would even like go to the publisher's social media, and like let's say Twitter or X as it is now. It's X. So I would say,
converted.
I mean, it's converted.
Oh my gosh, it's like it's the whole for the conversion.
So I would just go to that platform. I would go to that publisher and maybe in a retweet mention the author, just saying that you admire the work and then naturally doing it from the platform that you're operating out of. And then that way, naturally, if it comes up in a blog, it's not going to be some shock to the person that you're talking about. But then there's like some fairly valid receipts that, hey, I'm not just doing this for the blog, but hey, I'm actually a fan, or I appreciate the work. Because
again, it comes back to the concept we always come back to ourselves: value. Like, what is the value that you're giving? You know what I mean? We are, the tide raises all the ships, so we're trying to build everybody up, not just ourselves. And I like that mentioning, like tagging them in a post with the journal, if their post is in a journal, because I don't know if you look at a lot of journals, social media pages, typically there's not a lot happening. A lot of times they're posting their own stuff and that's about it. People aren't necessarily interacting with the journals. So I like that, creating that new touch point in that way. So then you're also extending the connection beyond that as well with the person. I like that strategy. I think that's very similar to what I would employ. I would also see if these guys are involved in any groups or things like that. Another thing I would do, and this is something that we talked about before, and we'll probably mention it again later as well, is so I have so this list right here. This is not an exhaustive list. This list already has like 6 names on it. What you could also do is you could email all of them or reach out to these 6. And what you can do is say, let's say that you're also trying to think of like content for your own blog.
Right.
And you want to feature something about them. Yeah, you could certainly go the analysis route and things like that.
Yeah.
But something that can be difficult with that is, especially if you're an unknown person, people don't know or care about your analysis necessarily, but they may care about this person. So I'm like, okay, this person probably is not going to want to interview with me. They might. I can reach out and try that. You never know.
Yeah.
But there's a good chance they may not want to commit to an interview, even if it's like a 5, 10, 15-minute one. So what's something I can do to minimize the friction, but still be able to interact with these people in some way? Something that you could do is reach out to them and again, say, hey, congratulations on your success. I found you. It seems like you're doing great things on the platform. I would love to know if you what's one tip that you would give to someone interested in starting their own blog, or maybe like a writing tip or something like that.
Yeah.
So then what happens is you're making something that's a little bit more accessible for them, because they may not have time or the interest in doing an interview, but they may be willing to share with you one tip.
Yeah.
And you can even make it more manageable too. You can say like, if you could just, it doesn't have to be long, just like a sentence, 2 sentences, something like that.
Yeah. I mean, would you even consider like reaching out to them for a quote and say like, what is some advice that you would give to an artist that's looking to really, I mean, I don't, there's like a lot of poets that do like ekphrastic poems, right?
Mm-hmm.
And so like, what is some advice that you might give an artist that's looking to create a catalog of work that incorporates ekphrastic poetry, and kind of maybe even do it on the heels of them having published a poem, and in that way there is something that's interconnected to the content that is like kind of freshly out there into the world. And so now you're able to, like, if you talk about it on the platform, now you have this space where you have a direct, provided they feel comfortable with sharing that information with you, right? But you have a direct quote from somebody who just published something that they directly gave you. So it's not like you're okay, you have to source something else. It's like my source is the source. And then you can also have a valid reference for something in the world. Now you have kind of 2 points where you have the author, and you are also able to reference the publication that they're in. No,
100%. I want to do something that is as minimal friction as possible. Doesn't have to be anything super long. One thing you can also do, there's a couple different sites. One site I've used just for my main business a lot with students is it's called vocaroo.com. It's like Voca, VOCA, then Roo. .com. And what this does, it's basically a voice recorder thing, and it lets people record something, and then they can send you they save it saves as a link, they send you the link, and then you have their voice. Okay, it's basically like saying like a voice memo, pretty much.
Yeah, so like the actual voice memo is like cloud based.
Yeah,
because it's link.
Yeah.
Okay,
yeah,
cool.
So then what you can do,
that was free pub, that was like free pub out there.
It's true.
So if you want to send the check, just send it over.
It's a free site, so I don't know how that works. I mean, maybe I don't know. They probably just take your data. Wow. I don't know.
Send us more of your free website. Give me more free stuff.
I want that affiliate.
Yeah.
So now if they're willing to do that, that's even better for me, because now I have the audio that I can transcribe. So I can use the audio for a podcast.
Yeah.
And then I can use the text for the blog. you know.
Oh.
And I can even make a video out of it, because I can have a video where I introduce the premise of the video, and then like like those like fancy, even like I wouldn't do this, but like the AI generated videos and things like that, like crazy background stuff.
Some of those are really scary, man. Yeah, man. 10 years from now, it's bad. 5 years from now, it's still probably like a year from now, it's probably not that great. But oh my gosh.
That's speaking of that, that's another reason why I think it's really important to start building these platforms as soon as possible, because I mean the AI rush is already here, but it's only going to get crazier. This is your chance. You might not have a chance to get ahead.
This might be AI already. We might have started AI before we even started this entire podcast, and now we're AI. Now we're replaced by AI. This is a fiction of your AI imagination.
So, but going back to this point, so like if I can get the audio, that's even better for me, because I can use that in even more formats: video, audio, and text. Versus if I just had the quote, it's like, well, I can just use it for the blog most easily. Just something to consider there. But to build on that, going back to the list, what if instead of just doing that with one person, I do that with all 6 of these guys, and let's say 4 of them respond? Cool. Well, now suddenly I have a video, 4 tips from the biggest, or like tips from the 4 biggest poetry bloggers on Medium, or something like that. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And again, they're not my tips, because, and this also demonstrates the fact that like a lot of times when you're starting these platforms, you do not need to be the expert. My blog is 6 views, guys. It's got 6 views. Definitely not an expert with this, but I don't need to be, because there's still ways that you can leverage it to pull on other people's authority and things like that. You just need to be one step ahead. To help someone, and that's the goal, to help someone. So
that's why I started giving piano lessons. I don't know how to play piano, but I'm one lesson ahead of the person. Now that's less to get a second piano teacher, and then now they're a lesson ahead of me. Now I have to pay them. Yeah, I'm paying for piano lessons now from 4 different people. Is the moral of that story. Please buy our merch. Okay.
That's really not entirely, slightly off topic, but still relevant from like a business perspective. Like I think a lot of times, we associate that if you get paid to do the work, people expect you to be the one doing the work a lot of times, when that's not necessarily the case. Like there's a channel I follow a lot called The Future. They're a design studio, and they're more focused on
it's a channel called The Future.
Yes, The Future without an E.
Oh, I thought you just were like, I just know the future.
He's a great business. Really like hearing his insights. And one of the things he mentioned was that when he was starting off, he started his own design studio, and people would hire him to do work, but it wasn't actually him that would be doing the work, because he hired other designers. He trained them how he wanted them, but then at the end of the day, he hires 4 designers, and people send him work. He completes the assignment, even though it's his designers. He gives it back to them, and they're none the wiser. And at the end of the day, I mean, if you're getting quality of work that you're happy with, then who cares? And like sometimes, like a client would find out, and they're like, "This isn't right," and then like they would ask their manager. Like he would tell them, "Okay, go talk to your manager. If they're not satisfied with the level of work, then we can stop." And then the manager just continues business with them, because it's like, all right, like at the end of the day, I just need the thing done. I don't care who does it. Like I need it done in a way I like, and I think you can apply similar things to writing. I forget what author it is. I don't know if it's Grisham. I don't know if it's McCarthy. There's like one of those like big name who's like constantly having books pushed out. His team of writers, like there's a formula that his books follow, and once you teach the writers how to follow it, you can step back.
Yeah, it's actually okay. So I mean, this is maybe getting a little bit more pop culture, but maybe follow along. So like a couple years ago, oh my gosh, like more than a couple years ago, but some years ago, there's a rapper. His name is Drake, right? you might not. You might know him. Actually, you look a little bit like Drake. Just a tad bit. You should
go on.
You should look into that. You should look into that.
Well, my hair is shorter. I can see that.
But okay, so there's this rapper named Drake, and then yeah, he's Jewish and black. Yeah.
Okay.
How about that? But yeah, so I think that's. I mean, there may be more, but I just know at the very least that's like that. So, but yeah, essentially, there was this big controversy when his album came out. If you're reading this, you're too late. Came out, right? Because essentially, this rapper named Meek Mill was like, "Well, hold on, man," and they're friends now. By the way, I don't. Spoiler alert for anybody that's really concerned about this friendship story. This is not what it's about. But at that time, Meek Mill was like, "Hey, you have writers. People will be writing verses and all this other stuff." And it kind of blew up. They kind of beefed for a little while. And I think what it really kind of made us do as consumers of hip hop or what have you is really just think about okay, so Drake makes good music. We like Drake's music. I'm not saying I like all the Drake songs, but Drake's catalog as a whole, it's a really good catalog. It's one of the best catalogs there. You know what I'm saying? So it's there's no contention. I'm not saying something that's I'm not coming out from left field with this thought that Drake is a good rapper. But once there's other rappers I would say somebody like Lupe Fiasco, right? Who, to my knowledge, writes all of his own verses. And if you listen to Lupe Fiasco, you're like, yeah, there could only be one person that's writing this, because I don't know anybody else that could write that, right? Whereas again, when we're thinking about Drake, essentially what came out was that he has reference tracks, which essentially these other people rapping for him, and then he listens to it, and then he raps the song himself. You know what I'm saying? Gotcha. And then that's the track that becomes huge and popular around the world. So then the question,
it's like a ghostwriter, pretty much.
Exactly. I mean, it's exactly a ghostwriter. And so now then the question that everybody has to ask themselves was okay, well, does this diminish the value of a Drake song if I know that the thing that I thought was happening in the kitchen is actually the chef saying, hey, prepare this dish most of the way, and then once the writing and once all that's done, I'm gonna come in and do. And I don't think this is for all tracks. I don't, you know what I'm saying? I definitely think Drake writes. You know what I mean? I don't know to what degree, but I'm just saying that I think that is kind of a similar thing in which I think, again, this was years ago, and Drake is still one of, if not currently right now, the top rap artist in the world, which is just to say that it's clear that the consensus was drawn with the people that, hey, we're getting good music. We really want the music. So if whatever has to happen in order for the music to get to us, we're fine with. And I think that's kind of holds true in kind of this example where we're saying, yeah, we understand that maybe the thing that you thought was happening in order for this work to be done isn't the exact thing that's happening. But if sans that information, if the work is getting done, then are the people that are the recipients of the product, are they going to care?
Probably not. Yeah. I mean, it's basically like white labeling, right? It's let's say that you're in food and you make a killer, I don't know, you make a loaf of bread that's just simply divine. It's just the best loaves of bread. But you also know that your market, if you just try to build it on your own, is going to be very limited. I think it comes down to what kind of a person are you? Are you the kind of person that's no, I want to build this up all on my own, even though it's going to be slower growth and things like that? It's just, that's very integral to who I am and my view on business. I want to do this myself. Or Costco comes to you and they say, hey, take your name off the bag and we'll sell it in 10x your profit overnight. Yeah. But it's no longer your name. So you kind of need to decide where do you fall on that. And I don't think there's a right or wrong answer, because some people, what they'll say is that, oh, well, if I'm going to take the offer because I can use that money to then do even more stuff. You know what I mean?
Yeah, absolutely.
So it's just gotta kind kind of decide. I mean, it even works that way with like blogs and things like that. I mean, you could hire the blogs under your name, but you hire people to write for you. I mean, there's tons of people that like hire like copywriters and stuff like that.
Yeah, and I mean, and there's plenty of that when it comes to like the opinion space. So typically, the person at the tip of the spear, they're like they might review it and things like that. But you know, there's a lot of content creators on YouTube. Movie Sins, do you know Movie Sins? You ever heard of them? Like they're a really big channel. They essentially do like they do like movie critiques more or less in an entertaining way. They do like movie critiques, but I think I've been watching them for years, and I think the first time I realized like there's other writers in Movie Sins other than the main guy, I was like, oh, that's interesting. But it's also, it makes sense because like we're dealing with tons, like they've been doing like I think two videos a week for like years, right? And so that means there's a huge amount of writing that goes into that, huge amount of like you have to be able to watch a movie and then catch all these little plot holes or mistakes or whatever. Like that's kind of the thing.
I mean, there's a research team that's just like that's all.
Yeah, and it was for a very long time it was just one person voicing it. So it's, you know, you kind of have the thought that okay, this is the one person that's doing all this work, and that it's like that for a lot of YouTube channels, which I feel like is kind of the, you know, the artist market that you're looking at anyway. It's like, yeah, these are the people that I'm viewing as creatives and are as the creators in that space.
I think you also have to understand these people you're going against. This is your competition. Like, you can go it alone, but understand that you're going against, these aren't even YouTube channels anymore. A lot of times they're media companies.
Yeah.
You know, I mean,
I feel like that typically the media, actually, I take that back. Some of the larger media companies, unless they bring on YouTubers that are already like that kind of had to eat off of YouTube, as opposed to I think a lot of these, like you get like a lot of these like large networks that come in and now they're, you know, they're making their way on YouTube, but there's people that eclipse these huge media companies like 4 and 5 times by their channel, which is
when I say media, like they're not like traditional media companies, but by all intents and purposes they are now. Like you're talking about teams of like 10, 20, 30 people just making videos. And we'll shift this back. It's all like tangential. I also want to make a note. So Bella has a blog. Bella, if you want to do like some collabs or things like that, let us know if you're interested. Intentional blogger, more than an intentional poet. You're doing a lot of poetry stuff too, so that's impressive. That's interesting. Also, that brings up another thing with blogs too, is specificity. I mean, with anything, like how specific are you? Are you staying narrow enough, or are you kind of branching out in lots of things? Know what your topic is. I mean, going back to our point here, so like if you have a blog that's specifically about craft, you know, then I would make sure that if I'm asking everyone for a quote, I want to make sure it's a craft related quote, you know, or something like that.
Yeah, it's kind of, I mean, you know, it's interesting enough. It's kind of like poems, like especially in the performance space. It's like I had this poem. Well, I guess I still have the poem. That like this. I mean, I don't think I've performed it in like a couple years, but I had this poem that I used to do fairly often, and then people started requesting it, and then I stopped wanting to do the poem. But if somebody you know, let's say somebody said,
I think it is it the
no. I still do that sometimes, but it's just another poem that like I haven't really performed. I haven't performed in a long time, but I think one of the reasons why I stopped performing it is because it wasn't getting the kind of traction that I might want to get. But I would say this: if I performed a poem that maybe I performed it once and then like everybody in the audience was like crying and like, please let me buy a book from you right now, I might pivot to say, like, dang, what is that poem doing? What's happening in that poem that I have to press into? So that's really something to consider. Like not just what you want to do, but what do people want to hear from you? If people are if they're giving you a clear signal, like, hey, go now. I mean, again, you don't necessarily have to give people what they want, right? So like that's nobody's saying that you absolutely have to, but in the interest of making a profit off of your work, kind of in the same exact way we were talking about like ghostwriters and things like that, or like white labeling, like you were bringing up in the example of Costco. You just have to make the determination of, it, like, this is a personal decision, sure, but if you are a person that's like, okay, what can I leverage this into to be able to do what I really want, like those are some things to consider.
I'm gonna move us to our second point. We're getting there. I don't have like a ton of points. Let's see what this one is. So this one, okay, kind of similar to the first one. So this is a list from that post where they basically just gave a link to different publications and things like this, and a very similar idea. So these are publications that exist on Medium. Okay, so again, kind of very similar to the challenge I mentioned earlier. I would go to these. I would find poets, on Medium who post there, and again, commenting on their work, interacting with them as much as possible. Very similar approach to when we just had the names of specific poets. I would kind of do a very similar sort of thing with these journals. Another thing you could also do is also reach out to the editors of these journals and do a very similar thing, to be like, hey, you guys run a very successful poetry journal Medium. I'm writing an article on tips for publishing. Can you give me, again, a Vocaroo file, audio file, or if you can give me a 2-sentence quote or something like that I can compile, and then I can turn that into a post about, top editors tips for publishing or something like that.
Yeah, I mean, and in my experience, editors really enjoy providing feedback because they're typically a wealth of a lot of especially in the photography world, but in like a lot of editors are people that work incredibly hard, but they're kind of, their position is to kind of be behind the brand,
it's
right?
It's
so yeah, well, yeah, but it's that too, yeah. But it's also it's to be behind the brand. So essentially, you're not supposed to be like, oh, this is the work of this person. You're supposed to say this is the work of the brand, or this is the work of the magazine or the journal or whatever. So which is all, I mean, these are all like fairly intentional and good work. But it's like, if I'm somebody who's putting all of my effort and the only thing that's getting kind of recognized most of the time is the brand in and of itself, which is good, then somebody reaching out to me and saying like, hey, I really like, I'll say something that I use sometimes in like the photography world, when this is not something I use necessarily, as much as something that I really do mean when I do reach out to people and say it. I mean, like, I really enjoy your layout. It's a really pleasing layout. You've done like some really good work there, because that's one of the things that if you're an editor for a magazine or a journal, like the layout is probably something you spent hours upon hours, like, okay, if I do this horizontal and I have this kind of place here, this is gonna draw the eye over here, and this is, and especially when now we're talking about poems, like, okay, so now what is this poem, if I put this poem here, what is the feeling of after they read this poem and then they read this poem, and then so they're thinking of all these things that that it's honestly kind of shocking and refreshing when somebody says, man, like I just noticed that, like, that's really cool. Like I really appreciate how like the run of poems in this journal, like, and then now you're editor, like, oh yeah, because I worked for hours on that. Oh my god, they're so thankful. So yeah, just like kind of noticing things that aren't necessarily things that everybody is gonna notice, and are things that that the editor has worked their butt off to accomplish.
Yeah, layouts.
Shout out to the editors. Yeah,
having done our own poetry journal. Yeah, the editing is not annoying. I mean, it's not always fun. Another thing too is that further builds up your connections as well, because now the editor starts putting a name, to your face, and vice versa a little bit. And again, what's the expression? Your net worth is your network, or your network's your net worth. So it's just kind
of. Is that a rap lyric, or is that?
It can be.
Just drop it. He's just like on tour. He's just like watching our podcast. Like, finally, yeah. Thanks, that versus next album. That versus coming.
Again, so a similar approach you can do with that. The next post here was, or next section of the post is talking about topics. So again, when you're on Medium, this is specific to Medium. I don't know what other platform you may be using for your blog. Topics are important. So they give lists of some topics to consider, like poetry, poems on Medium, poetry on Medium, haiku. Can I just mention I have a complaint about hashtags. I really don't like hashtags because they're so, and that's actually one of the reasons I really like Threads, because there are no hashtags. I hope it stays that way personally. I don't like hashtags because it's like if I post a poem, I'm gonna do like hashtag poem, but then I also have to do hashtag poems, the plural, and like you have to like think of like all the different variations. It's like
yeah, and I also think that it adds another non-organic method of a kind of accumulating like data and interests that I think can really be skewed in a lot of ways. So like, let's say, for example, we're talking about poems, right? Somebody can post, a video of them cooking a casserole, and they're like, well, I am like, this is like poetry, like this is me, art. And so now it's like, now you're searching now like one of the categorizations, one of the ways that the algorithm is kind of sorting through this content is saying, well, hold on, you like poems, you must like this person making this casserole. And now it's kind of muddying the waters a little bit. And I think that, if you give the algorithm enough time, it'll maybe sort that kind of stuff out. But it'll just be time where in which I think that if you don't have hashtags, then it's maybe it's a slower drip, so maybe it's like you're not getting that kind of rush, and hashtags aren't even as effective as that anymore.
That's true.
But like maybe you don't get that initial couple people that are like, oh, I'm here for poems. Oh no, it's a casserole. You might not get all of my poems are casseroles. All my casseroles are poetry. Oh Lord. But then I think like the people that do find your work are going to be the people that are really looking for it.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah, it's very disingenuous. In fact, on YouTube, they used to have tags, which function very similarly to hashtags, and they just stopped counting it. We're going to use this just like misspellings and stuff like that. We're not even, because people also just lie and abuse it. They're like, I wrote a poem about the beach, so my hashtag is Taylor Swift. And it's like, this is like, it just doesn't.
Although oddly enough, I feel like that might fit. Isn't that kind of her brand?
The beach? Is it? Are you a Swiftie?
No.
Are you?
Don't attack this podcast. Please, if you're out there and you're a Swiftie, I'm not even Swift. I run at this medium pace.
They were on the flight with me.
Oh, man. I don't know.
But anyway, so if you're doing that, if you're blogging on Medium, I guess use the right topics, I guess. You can't hurt, I guess. What's this next one? Okay. This one's just some like design things. And I'm also just always experimenting with this on different platforms too, like on social media, like videos versus pictures versus just text. I mean, obviously you can't just do that on Instagram very easily. But just kind of seeing the responses, like, again, the way these platforms work, they want you to stay on their platform, right? So for instance, a lot of times there's all kinds of studies on like YouTube that like if you have a YouTube video and you include a link to an external website, how that damages your video performance to just show it to fewer people and things like that. So just always things like that to kind of keep in mind. I imagine Medium's not so different, but again, illustrating a poem with an image, they recommend the site Unsplash. In case you're not, I imagine a lot of people already know about Unsplash, but in case you're not familiar with it, Unsplash is basically just like copyright free, like stock photos. If you don't want to spend on like Getty Images or something. There's also a site called Pexels.com. They also have stock video as well. For just side information. They also give some formatting things to just kind of keep in mind. So, yeah, if you're formatting your posts, just things you want to be considering.
Yeah.
Those were the kind of just the main quick highlights. So I want to kind of just talk about what our own strategy. I'm just kind of scrolling through, make sure we hit all of our points. So what am I going to be doing this week? So my goal is, let's look at our numbers. So I got 6 views. It's pretty sad. I haven't gotten a view in October. Not a single view, guys. Not a single
What's going
view.
on, guys?
Not once. Not once.
What are you doing?
Okay, so how am I going to fix this? So my goal this week is very similar to what we mentioned earlier. What I want to do starting tomorrow is I want to reach out to these poets, and I want to reach out to these journals. It's not even a long list. So I'm going to reach out to them this week and introduce myself. I'm going to ask them for a tip related to... I have to decide if I want to be a craft point or something more like kind of like poetry business related. And try to get their thoughts on it. I'm going to compile it. My goal is to then make a YouTube video of sharing the points. If I can get the audio file, include the audio file. If I can't get the audio file, maybe put some like pretty music and nice text with the quote.
Some Drake.
Maybe make like a YouTube short or something like that, or like some reels. And then I'm going to take the audio or the quote and turn those into blog posts. If they send audio, I'll also turn it into just a podcast. Because again, you can find a podcast version of this as well at versuspoetry.com/podcasts with an S at the end. So that's my plan this week. And I'm curious to see how that's going to potentially impact things. Because after we make the post too, letting the people know, like the editors and things, know what we've done. Other things I would like to do as well. Facebook groups. We talked about this strategy as well. There's a number of different writing groups on Facebook. So I want to do a similar thing with them as well. I can even ask them if I want to approach it from a business perspective, like how to have a successful writing community on Facebook, something like that. And it's just kind of pose that question to different admins of different Facebook groups, get their responses, publish the post. Once it's published, link it to the editors. Is like, hey, thanks so much. We included you in this post here, and see what they do with it.
Yeah, I feel like small things like that can kind of really lead to some really, I think, honest traction, as opposed to traction that you get people that will click on it because there is something that's happening around it right now, as opposed to people that are now, because they clicked on it, now because they got engaged with it, they realize that your platform is something that they would want to regularly be engaged with, which hopefully turns that 6 people that, or 6 different views. Hopefully that turns into people that Jeff just like walks past his computer and just acts surprised every single like, oh, this is an interesting topic. Let me engage. But yeah, hopefully that would just kind of grow that. And something that I also think is like a really good idea is to being like reaching out to creators that are growing, not exponentially, or not like really far past you, but like just people that are kind of closer to you, because I think those are the ones that are also kind of more likely to respond and more likely to kind of give you feedback and kind of talk to you, because they're kind of recognizing, oh, it's not a wasted effort because I'm not talking to somebody who isn't experienced or who doesn't have any information. But they're also like, you can pretty much imagine, I would still try, but you can pretty much imagine a lot of the larger artists are probably inundated with messages from people, so maybe it's going to be a little bit hard to kind of break through the noise with some of those guys.
I mean, it's almost like cold calling. You don't expect every single person you call to respond.
It's almost like cold cuts. You don't expect for every single sandwich to be delicious.
Palms of casserole.
Palms of casserole. Write that poem. My poem's a casserole. Thanksgiving dinner was hilarious.
Hashtag beautiful.
Wait, what was the wait? What did Bella say? Hold on. Keep your friends
This is
close.
a moment ago. Yes, Bella said, "Keep your friends close and your competition closer." I applaud that.
That's fair. I respect that.
That's a good. Yeah. It's gonna earn you something. Yeah. Now, we spent a lot of time even talking about blogs. Matthias, how important do you think it is to even have a blog?
I would say I think there's an audience in blogging. Like when you say like how important do I think it is? Like on a scale like 1 to 10,
what do you think is like? what do you think is the role of a blog in like 2023? I mean, this is a platform that's been around for like the 2000s.
I mean, I'll be honest with you. If nothing else, and I mean, I think there's probably other applications, but if nothing else, like if you have a blog, then you have just an entire other sphere of content that is Googleable, right? So if somebody opens up Google and they're searching for content that you're doing or content that you're working, it's like not only is your podcast going to be on there, maybe your YouTube channel, but now your blog, so now it's just full with things that are searchable. But then also just think like a text-based content like that's always going to be good, because then people can search the actual words that you're using, and like in the dictate that you're using, which is good.
Yeah, from an SEO perspective, it's super beneficial. There's also this idea that you want to develop a connection with someone who you maybe you've never met before. So then, like, how much information of you?
Like very lonely. You want to develop a connection with someone that you maybe never met before.
Like, approach it from a. That's cool.
This is his first. His dad is here.
My other dad. From a business perspective, like potential client, like, so if someone like is thinking of like maybe buying your book or like doing a service, like maybe you have a course that you're offering and they want to find out more information about that, before you ever even hear of them, what's one of the first things they're going to do? They're going to be like Googling you to be like, what's out there? If the answer is like nothing, well then for some people that's going to be enough of a turnoff to be like, I don't know if I can even trust this.
Yeah,
especially like for service related things. So like if you don't have an online presence right now, that can be very problematic long term.
Yeah. Do you think that there is I want to say a best like kind of like a degree of online presence that can be overwhelming or maybe too much? Or do you think it's just like the more the better?
In general, like I would have to think about that more. My first reaction is just the more the better. I think that ideally you want to be in a position where someone Googles you need to be on that top page. If you're not even on the top page, that's a problem. Like you're not page one for you. Not even on page one for you. Like, really? You're gonna let other people be you?
There's some other guy like, yeah, I'm Jeff. It's me.
So I think, especially if you're approaching from a business perspective, like if you can't even land on your first page, and you can do it. Like some people are like, oh, but like my thing is like super general or things like that. Just to give an example, right now, almost everything I'm wearing is I'm just always swagged out. What can I say? Everything I'm wearing right now pretty much is from my my main business, my pronunciation business. It's called Fluent American, and I mean these are terms like for people learning American English. I mean, fluent in American, these are super common words, But if you go to Google and you type in Fluent American, we are all over the first page. We're all over the videos. We're all over the image search and things like that. Like. You can take over something if you're consistent enough at it. And you're giving enough content. So it's really important for dominating that. And I think the blog is just another way to do that. I think a blog is also a way to you're trying to generate authority in your subject matter. There's a business concept called, again, your key person of influence, by Daniel Priestley, but it's just kind of just in marketing and business in general. Like you want to develop yourself as an authority figure as soon as possible, because if you're not, one, no one's going to trust you and no one's going to be able to find you. Yeah. Quick note here from Bella: maybe overwhelmed the person putting it all out, but never to a consumer or a fan. This is going back to can you have too much content out there?
Yeah.
And I think that's very fair. Overwhelming person putting it out, yeah. Especially if it's just you. If it's a one-man show,
but I mean,
person shows.
Yeah, but the thing, and just what we were talking about before, I think the thing that consistency, like that's what is bred by consistency, right? So maybe you're not necessarily thinking about the time 6 months from now, where if you search in your podcast name or your YouTube channel's name or whatever, that is going to be completely populated. Maybe the only thing that you focus on is you have a podcast a week, or maybe you do a video every couple weeks, or maybe that you're creating this content, or you know what I mean? Like you're building something up, and in that way, if you are if you have a realm of consistency and some ingenuity, because you have to kind of figure out, okay, what is the most, how do I kind of track the most interest in these different things, even to kind of keep the thing going. You'll eventually end up to a point where you'll be like, oh, if I search this, then I'm going to be seeing my content everywhere.
And this also highlights the importance of strategy and things like that. Again, why do we do a video podcast? We do a video podcast because I strip the audio and use that for the audio podcast. We do a video podcast because, again, our blog posts, all the blog posts that we have, are taken from our video podcast. So I got all of our YouTube shorts, all of our Instagram reels, all of them, for the most part, are coming from the video podcast. It's one thing. I shoot it for a couple hours with this guy when he decides to show up.
I just met him. I heard they had free soup. I just.
Speaking of that, you didn't even know.
Actually, shout out to my wife. She made this soup. It's really delicious.
Let's go.
Hi, wife.
My favorite thing Aja is like, just talks like, "Hey, bud."
Hey, bud. It's going, bud.
But so there's strategy to this. Everything that happens, there's a method. I find that shooting video gives you the most flexibility with all the other forms, because if I didn't have the video, then all I would have is the audio and the text. Or if I just had the blog, I wouldn't have anything else. So this, it allows you to maximize the most. And other things that we're working on is also just like in-person events as well, because you do an in-person event and now you've added another level, because now you have the in-person connection. You have the recording of the.
Now they know we're not AI.
Wait.
Well, they're not completely sure.
Holograms are. Bella says that the soup is a labor of love.
It is. It's really good. It's like turmeric and chicken, and it's all real ingredients. Real ingredients, better pizza, Papa John's, but it's soup, so not Papa John's at all.
Eat your tumor chicken. Your tumor chicken, or whatever you said.
Turmeric.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's a healing soup. Not to get off topic.
So what I was saying again, just blogs I think are just great opportunity. The other thing too that we can do future is also, you can literally take the videos and the transcripts and you could turn them also into a book. We could take, you do enough blog posts, you can turn those into a book. You do enough like video podcast things, you can also like, again, take the transcripts, edit them up, turn those into a book. Especially, we got how many hundreds of hours of just from like podcast stuff. I imagine if we really wanted to, we could scrape enough like transcripts from that and turn it into a physical book if we really wanted to. If we had it around a central theme. And this goes to intentionality. Like for instance, if we were really serious, then that's probably something like, hey, next 5 streams, next 10 streams, we need to be super intentional about this topic. So then we can use that transcript, doctor it up, and then turn that into an actual.
Yeah. But then, I mean, even with that, so now you have the book, and now you have the audible version of the book, and now that you have the audible version of the book is like it's a condensed version of what you're getting maybe on the YouTube and on the podcast, but you're getting a lot more focused in the book, and you're getting it almost, I would say, maybe in almost like a playlist, but it's a book, right?
It's not just it's a video book. This is actually literally something I'm doing right now with my main business. Is I'm doing a series of live streams. The live streams are short; they're like 10 minutes, but I'm doing a long series of them, and then afterwards, I'm going to cut the videos and condense them into. They say a lot of times audiobooks, like 3-4 hours. So basically, once I have that down to about 3 or 4 hours of video, I'm going to take the transcript, edit that transcript a little bit more, and then turn that into a physical book that I can sell. Very, very similar thing. And again, a video book, because no one's doing video books. Everyone's doing audiobooks. But I mean, next 5-10 years, I mean, I would not be surprised if video books become
especially with AI, because you could just, hey, AI, read this book and make, couple it with this.
Yeah. So a lot of it just comes down to intentionality and strategy and game planning. Yeah. That's all I have. I'll be honest. That's all I wanted to talk about today.
That's a good talk. I think that it's always good to really kind of not only just like revisit, but also really kind of talk about ways that the base content that you create can become other forms of content and are and realistically are the other forms of content, because there's so many creators that you're thinking on your end, oh man, they have their hands in 20,000 pots and they're just doing which a lot of them are, right? But a good amount of them are like, they've done the one once they did the one thing, it makes it easier to do the 5 other things. And then, one day you'll build yourself up into, being able to have like kind of some solid footing in each of those realms to really up the production in those areas, maybe, right? But it's just like, I mean, now that you have done the one thing, which is like, again, at the base level, having the podcast, the video content, now you can video content, namely video content that has really high quality sound. Now you can, you're able to do some other things.
Yeah. And I think other thing too is that people often get nervous. They're like, okay, so you have all these videos, and if you take all the content, like you take the transcripts, you make a book out, who's going to buy the book? I could just watch the videos, and 100% you could. But the problem is that if you just go by the videos and things like that, especially if you're pulling sections from here, I'm pulling a section from here, I'm pulling a section from here, and across your catalog, someone might be able to get all that from watching all your videos. But the problem is they're getting all that from watching all your videos. You know what I mean? What people are paying for, they're paying for the convenience and the condensed information. So that way they don't have to plow through your hundreds of hours of content. They can just focus on like the 4 hours that are most relevant to them. People pay for that. People pay for convenience all the time.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, even when you think about like stuff that you might even like, there's a lot of content creators whose work translates to the classroom. And so, like a teacher's not going to want to be like, well, hey kids, let's like turn on YouTube and let's watch the next like 5 hours, which, I mean, I don't know, school might get to the point where it's just that I don't even know, maybe it is. Cause like, I think like one teacher, I did like poems at a school once, and like one of the teachers, they were playing like a YouTube video of these kids playing with these toys, 2 kids. And I didn't understand the concept. I don't know what the lesson plan was, but it's just to say that like that the old school rolling the TV into the classroom, that I think that's been probably for sure replaced with let's look this up on YouTube. And that's
kind of sad. Like there was like the anticipation, like they wheel in the car.
Yeah, man. I'm gonna do that with my kids every now and again. I'm just gonna like roll like a really old TV into the room and then like play the moon landing. or
Man,
something.
that brings back her. And then did you guys have like the old school like overhead projectors?
Yeah.
Like it gets so hot.
Yep.
Oh,
I
man.
remember like one time our my algebra 2 teacher, he was like drinking coffee and he would set it on the little corner of it, like every time, like not the glass part but like the other part, he would set on the corner every single time. And I think like one day like he was just like walking and he's like going through an equation up there, and so as he's doing that, he's like looking up there and he puts the coffee down, but he puts it out the door and it smashes the thing. And then we just got to not learn the rest of that day, because if we don't have that, we can't learn anything. Remember that, guys? If you didn't have that overhead projector, you're done learning forever.
When I was in school, we still had blackboards. Like
Oh,
blackboards,
yeah.
blackboards. I
We
hate
had
whiteboards.
blackboard too.
I hate whiteboards.
No, they don't have black. Oh, guess they. Yeah, they
No,
would
I
have
hate
whiteboards now.
Nowadays,
Oh,
well,
man.
I mean, if you're
Why gotta be a whiteboard?
If you're a teenager, watching this for some reason. Do you have whiteboards or blackboards?
If you were born when there was color TVs, like tell us what you think about this. If you're born after we landed on the moon, just
I remember our old TV. Like when I was a kid, our old TV had the cable remote.
there is a cable remote.
Like it was like the remote was connected to TV with a cable.
The remote was connected to you with a cable. Wait, what? Like, I'm not that old, guys. I don't know what Jeff is talking about. I have no idea. I have no clue. No clue what that is. There is a remote that is connected to a cord. Oh no, guys! Hey,
am I wilding out?
Wait, how do we have 4? We can like get more people. Guys, hey guys, we're at a point in the show where Jeff is very clearly showing he's a million years old, because he had a remote control that is attached to a cord, and the cord is attached. That's not remote anymore. That's not remote. No, that you're using the TV to control the TV now. That's a part of the TV.
It's like remote control for a TV. Look,
Oh my god! Hold on, we gotta. Can we? Is there a way to show this? Because this is. Jeff used to crank his television up, and you had to crank it for 30 minutes to get 5 minutes of
You
viewing
did
time.
it.
He had to ride his bike, his wooden bike.
We didn't have a wooden bike, but we did have a we did have also the bunny ears, like for original TV too. So it's like
Okay, I can remember that. No, let's not try to put those things in the same category as a cord connected to the remote
am I
control.
the only one? There had to be other people that
I cannot believe that this was something, because that defeats it. May because it clearly had to happen first. So maybe it's not defeating it. Maybe the thing that we have right now is the evolution of it. But oh my gosh. Wait, so you had that?
like really little, yeah.
I can't even
I don't know
imagine.
why my parents did.
I can't even imagine
I don't
passing me the remote. It's like,
I remember also I remember my grandma gifted us, like my brother and me, $500. So we were like,
wait, how old were you?
I forget. It was like, I don't know, maybe it was like 13th birthday or something like that.
13th birthday, $500?
Yeah, no, right?
Oh
She
man.
used to work at Bell.
Wait, each so like a little insight. So Jeff is a twin, and so that means that like I would imagine every gift that Jeff, like you can't even use the excuse, oh, that's your older brother, because it's like, no, he's the exact same age. Okay. So any gift that he gets, I need as well.
So Bell makes a note too. When the TV went static at night, I don't remember that. Like I remember, like like the old school, like in the
Wait,
60s.
TV went static, like
like
just television was done.
Yeah, TV. Like,
What?
That's like the end of your. I feel like they would send out. I don't remember. I'm just based on what my parents said. I think they would send a message to be like check on, like make sure your kids are home or something like that. And they're like, the TV would like shut off. Yeah,
Are your teens at home?
Yeah.
The television's done. Now it's time for you to be a parent.
100%. Um,
Oh my gosh. Oh wow. Oh
but
man.
anyways, we spent our $500 very wisely, so we got a TV, like a giant tube TV, that was, so it was like,
Wait, was that like
it was probably
that's like both of you put together?
Yeah. So it was like a.
Wait.
So the TV cost $500.
Okay.
At the time, this was like,
Okay.
I don't know, early 2000s. And this TV, I mean, it was a tube TV, so it was like a 35, 40-inch tube TV.
Yeah.
So you can imagine.
Oh yeah.
That thing probably weighed 200 pounds.
Yeah.
Over
That
under?
that might be a little. That might be a little bit light. I can't. I'm thinking about like kind of lifting those things like that.
Here's our remote control.
Oh my god. That is.
No one else is sharing. Yeah. This is what they played the Star Spangled Banner. Thanks for Miranda.
Why?
I was not old enough for this. I heard about this.
I was there during the writing of the Star Spangled Banner. I remember sitting in and thinking, more drums. Oh my gosh.
Well, that we've gone off the rails. Hopefully this is all taught you very meaningful things about how to start your blog. But it's wild now because now you can buy a 50-inch TV that weighs like 30 pounds, which is just like,
dude, you can buy. Okay, it's so. When you think about it, our evolution from cords being attached to your remote controls to legitimately, like I can control my TV. Like I can say a thing out loud. I could say, "Man, I want to watch." Jeff does that. So Alexa, I want to watch. Alexa, I want to watch this show, and it will just go to the show. And shows don't end. Shows are always happening.
But I mean, it's just wild to even being able, like, we're able to shoot this video and reach all of you.
Think about it. Think how crazy that is.
It's all here. Like,
think like this is not happening 6 months ago. Like, like all television was like 6 months ago, and then like they just like by the time they were able to edit it and bring it to you, like it was happening. Like, oh man,
Miranda's lost. Sorry. We finished our point about the blog stuff maybe like 20 minutes ago. Now we're just
now this podcast is solely devoted to why there was a cord attached to a remote control on the television, because that defeats the purpose. That's no longer remote because you can't even lose that. It's like,
I think by definition it's remote. It's like it's the original remotes. That's how they all were.
But it's attached to the TV. That makes it part of the TV. Like that is a part of the television.
But you can do it from your couch though now.
Okay.
It drags.
Such a drag going the length of this cord. I just can't stop. I have to like make a movie based off of the cord remote. Like I'll do it.
I'm gonna wrap up on some quick things. Just to, again, keep you in case you're watching this and you're like, what is happening? Again, this is Diverses. We have some things coming up. Just some things to be aware of again. We have a poetry residency for 2 female women identifying poets.
Yeah.
This is again December 8th through December 10th. We're looking for 2 poets. Applications are due October 31st at right a minute before midnight. So
Halloween.
on that. Yeah. Also, so we've talked a lot about just kind of approaching your writing from a business stance. We talked about strategies for your blog and things like that. One thing, again, to let you know, every Wednesday from 9 to 9:30, I lead a webinar where we just talk about strategies for turning your writing into a workshop. It's online. Okay, so we'll guide you through setting up your topic, promoting venues, equipment you may need, and things like that. It's a small group. Okay, so we cap it at 4 people. So if that sounds like something you are interested in, again, you can go to our pre-registration link, which I'm going to post once more. Facts. Besides, is cracking up.
It was. But you guys, y'all understand what? Wait,
Miranda's using pliers out here.
See, no, okay. So I'll say this. I did have. So I was like,
Get your TV pliers.
Yeah. So when I was a kid, so I was like 9 or 10, and okay, this is gonna be really weird. so I had this like little small black and white TV that I actually got from a yard sale, and like I got this like little small black and white TV from this yard sale, and I used to watch Seinfeld, like because Seinfeld would come on channel 6. Like I only had like the major networks. I only had like channel like that 2, 4, 6. I had channel 5, but it didn't really like come in, and that was like UPN or something like that. 6, 8, and 53, which was like UPN or whatever, like another like UPN or something like that. So I would like the only thing that would like channel 6 would come in like really clearly like most of the time, and channel 6, and then channel 4 would come in like the clearest. And so I would just like and then it was like 11:35 when the news went off, then Seinfeld started, and I would like watch Seinfeld. and again, it's like I didn't have other there's no other game in town, so it's like I was like I could watch that or like watch the news or like that's QVC. Really it. Yeah, QVC. And so like I would just be like watching Seinfeld all the time. I don't know, that might be, I don't know. If I'm funny, then maybe it's because I was just like watching that. But like and when I say like that all the time, all the what's the deal with TV remotes? But yeah, I used to at one point the TV like the dials broke, and I had to
that little nubs thing.
Yeah, it was just like this little nub. And the thing is, I had pliers, but the thing is, you couldn't really touch the TV once it was on the channel, because if you touch it, the little thing would flip and it would be off the channel. So like I would have to like do this thing where I had the pliers and I got it exactly right, and then you would have to like slowly release your fingers, and then like sometimes you have to put like a little counterbalance, so sometimes it would be trying to nudge this way, so you would put like a little
a lot of finesse.
Oh man, I would spend, when I say I would I have to go to bed at 9 so that I can like be working on this half an hour of television for later on. Like I have to really be like put some diligent work in to make sure I get this half an hour of TV.
I'm getting my Seinfeld.
Oh man, those are some good times, man.
Oh man. The other thing, we have a Facebook group called Pep and Poets. Specifically, it's about first Sundays, 2-3 p.m. We meet at Yellow Brick Pizza. This is in downtown Columbus. So if you're not in Columbus, that's very sad.
Too bad for you.
Yeah. Actually, we'll be posting up in the group pre-registration for our next session, which again will be on November 1st, or when is the Sunday in November? It might actually be the 1st. No, it's the 4th. No, the 5th. So November 5th will be our next session. So keep an eye out for Pep and Poets. If you want to join us, eat some free pizza with me, and talk things like poetry craft and things like that. Join Pep and Poets. You can just search Pep and Poets on Facebook, and join the group, and we'll be taking notes on who wants to join us in our next session. So again, residency webinar, sign up for that if you want to talk about making your writing into a course, all your dreams come true. You want to make your poems a casserole.
You've already made your poems a casserole. Now you're like, what do I do with this? Poetry casserole. All
right, I'm going to end this madness here. If you guys have other questions about blogs, you have your own experience with blogs. Bella, if you want to collaborate on some blog stuff, or if you're like, Jeff, you got 6 views. Why am I
I have 9, Jeff. That's 3 other warm bodies. Please get like me.
Let us know. But thank you guys so much for your time. Greatly appreciate you. We'll be back next Tuesday with some more Diversus Live. My name is Jeff.
My name is Matthias.
Oh my gosh. Bella's dumb.
Either one. It's either one.
Yeah.
You can do it. Believe in yourself.
Bella and I, we're gonna chat, Bill. We're gonna chat. Get some things going. I will see you guys later. Have a good day, good night, good afternoon. Take care, guys. Take care, Miranda. Yeah.